Hey musicians, so today we're going to talk about time signatures. Time signatures are a construct that help us keep track of pulses. And with that and measure lines, we're able to count music, we're able to quantify it, we're able to divide it, and all that really cool stuff. They've been around for a long time, and there's some pretty cool history on it if you want to look it up. But I'm not going to get into the history of it, just more of what they are and how to use them and how to understand them and know what the divisions are. So remember, it's not a fraction, right? It looks like a fraction. You have a top number and a bottom number, but it's not. The top number, all it does is tell me how many, okay? How many pulses that we have in a bar line. And every person in the world can figure out how many, right? You could even tell a non-musician this, and they would understand, hey, I get the idea of how many, all right? Of what is not what everyone knows. That's what musicians know, okay? And so we know that we're talking about a note value, and it's a divisible by 2 value, all right, or a multiple of 2. So we start out with the basis of 1, okay, and 1 equaling a whole note, all right? So if I have 1 over 1, that means I'm telling you I have 1 whole note in every measure. If I have 3 over 1, that means I have 3 whole notes in every measure, all right? And we'll talk about counting later, but that's just the basis of it. You would see 3 whole notes per measure. And you would count it 1, 2, 3, okay? And then 2 is a half note, 4 is a quarter note, 8 is an eighth note, 16 is a 16th note, etc., etc. Okay, we get that basic thing as musicians, so we know what these note values are, all right? So this is telling me how many of these notes are in a measure. But this top number is the one we're going to spend most of the time on and understanding that, because we need to understand the basic types of time signatures. And I've always taught 4, right? I've always taught 4 different basic types, but there's a couple others. One was a great conversation I had with another student that he was thinking that we have more compound meters than what we think of, and that some of the other ones could be thinking of as compound. And I agree with him. And I did some research on it and found some really cool things. So the first 2 that we're going to talk about are part of what we call our simple time signatures, all right? And it comes into 2 different flavors. We have duple. A duple one is a note or a number that's divisible by 2 and not by 3. We call it a duple time signature. So in this case, you would have 2, 4, 8, 10, 16, etc. Okay, it's divisible by 2 and not by 3. A triple, which is another simple time signature, is a note that's or a number that's divisible by 3 and not by 2. Okay, so it's the exact opposite. So in this case, we'd have 3, we would have 9, we would have 15. Okay, and usually you don't go beyond that. Okay, sometimes, very rarely you would, but you don't. Okay. The next one is what we call a compound meter, and this one is a division. It's divisible by both 2 and 3, and normally we use it as a dotted quarter note rhythm, and it's a very lilting way of counting things. In this case, if it's divisible by both 2 and 3, kind of like chemistry, when you mix 2 chemicals together, you would get a compound, right? Well, it's the same idea. If you mix 2 and 3 together, you get a compound time signature. So this would be 6, 12. 18, you rarely see 18, but 6 and 12 for the most part, all right? The next one is what we call complex, and a complex is neither divisible by 2 or 3. So in this case, it's most prime numbers except for 2 and 3. So we would have 1, that would be a complex time signature, 5, 7, 11, etc. And we know songs that have those time signatures. If you think, if you know the song "Money" by Pink Floyd, it's in 7/4. Boom, beam, ba-doom, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, and it's in 7/4. Or Dave Brubeck's "Take 5." It's actually in 5/4 because it's called "Take 5." Imagine that. All right. Then there's a couple others, and this is one where Riley and I got into the conversation about this. And if you look at something, it's an additive time signature. If I had something over 8, let's say I have 8 over 8, but I divide the number, the top number, instead of just divisible by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, what if I did 3 plus 3 plus 2 over 8, which is still 8 over 8, right? But I'm dividing the pulse by that. So it comes out 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. That acts as a compound time signature, doesn't it? It's an additive time signature, but it acts like a compound one. Even though we would count it like a duple time signature, we would divide it in that way. And it could be 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3, or 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3. So notice it's the same 8/8 time signature, but it has a completely different feel, right? You should write some music this way, okay? The next one, which is really rare, and it's one that is completely different than these others. And this is one that I'm not going to explain a lot because I'm barely understanding it. It has more to do with how the notes are spread apart through a measure. This is called an irrational time signature. And an irrational time signature doesn't use one of these as its bottom number. It actually uses a different one, okay? One of the ones that I looked online, it said it had a time signature of 4/3, which I thought was really weird, but it has to do with metric modulations and things like that. If you're interested in those, look up a site by Adam Neely, Neely. And Adam has a great explanation of what that is. I don't know if I necessarily agree with it, but I necessarily agree with metric modulations. I know a lot of musicologists don't, but it's out there, all right? It's out there, and you kind of have to know what it's doing. But it makes sense. I mean, it's fun, and it's different, okay? All right, so again, these are our basic time signatures. We mainly deal with duple, triple, compound, complex, and we do deal with additive. I know in one ensemble and places like that, we've actually had it. In percussion ensemble, we have had those additive ones. So that's another one that we can add, okay? Anyway, I hope that's helpful, and thank you, and I hope you're all doing well. All right, let's keep making music. All right, take care.